My name is Nick. I'm a full-time trader and entrepreneur. We put out tons of stuff for free for traders.
These are real trades. This is real money. I'm putting my money on the line.
This is going to be a live trading video here, locking in over $1,000 on this trade.
Wow, I'd love to get in on this.
Technical insights that really look good to me.
Here we go. We're live.
Hey guys, welcome back to another live stream. Thank you for being here. Got a bunch of people in the chat already. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome back to you. See a lot of the regulars in the crowd. Of course, we see Dawn, Sean, Ezio, Lemonade, Mawaje, Denise. Good to see everybody in the chat. Thank you for being here. Lots of stuff moving today. Lots of volatility today. We see the dollar actually jumping as the title of the stream goes. We've got the markets kind of dropping back here, and then you've got the dollar itself gaining quite a bit today. So going to cover all that today. Like I said, kind of a wild start to the week. We did get markets across the world sort of responding to this. I do actually want to start there today. I want to start with some of the U.S. stock markets and maybe take a look at some of the other global markets as well. But for the most part, we do see a major level of support being broken for the bulls here on the S&P 500. And this, you might say, well, Nick, I trade currencies. I don't care about the stock market, but they all sort of talk to each other. I've mentioned that on my channel before. So we did have this level of support. Right. And so this, sort of offers this idea of risk on, risk off. When you see these stock markets dropping, usually you see markets sort of shifting into a risk off sentiment, meaning they want to buy things that are safer, not necessarily looking to try and make as much money, but looking more for investors to, keep their funds, keep their money as safe as possible when markets are turning down, as opposed to a market when we're doing this, when we're going straight up. People are tending to take a little bit more risk and looking to buy things that are more on the yield category, things that are higher risk, higher return, if you will. But when markets are dropping, we see the opposite. We see people not wanting to take extra risk. They want to buy things that are safe. So they sell stocks, right? That is typically what we see when markets are scared. They usually sell stocks. And I put out a video just about an hour ago about this topic. But the main point that I wanted to make was that we do have inflationary concerns for the market. And we also have COVID 2.0 questions coming in. Is the Delta variant going to be a bigger problem than people initially responded to with it? That's kind of the question. And the thing is with the pandemic initially, it looked a lot like this, where it was like, yeah, there are concerns. And then all of a sudden it just became way more apparent. And then the markets dropped. So I would not be surprised to see the markets sort of have potentially a little bit more downside this week, especially since we're not scheduled to hear from the Fed. I don't believe this week, at least not in a major announcement. So I'm sort of just, with that said, we'll see if the Fed steps up and does something to combat this. But right now we're seeing a lot of dollar strength. We're seeing a lot of risk on assets be sold into here in the Monday open. Of course, we have the stock market opening in just about 20 minutes here. So we will see if things can reverse or if we're going to keep going lower. But for me, with the stock market, with the S&P 500, things are looking very bearish and pretty scary for investors. I mentioned in my video earlier, don't ask me to look at my stock market account because it's probably not so nice today. It's probably a little bit ugly across the board there. So we are going to look at a bunch of different things today. There's a lot of stuff moving, so I wanted to try and put some stuff together there. So the first thing I wanted to say was, again, those concerns around inflation, those concerns around the Delta variant are probably the biggest driving force today for the stock market. So, and that kind of carries over into the currency market. We'll take a look now at the DXY. Here's the US dollar index, which trailed higher today, actually breaking out of major resistance here to start out the week. So very strong for the dollar. If you guys have been watching my channel, I've been fairly bullish on the dollar. So kind of a cool thing to see the dollar break out here. Off of the reaction here of everything going on, people probably looking to sell other currencies and buy back into the US dollar as sort of that safe haven asset, right? A lot of times people buy the dollar just because, again, the economy in the US is so large, it's so strong overall, that a lot of times people move their money out of other riskier things back into the dollar when things get scary, and that is exactly what I would imagine we are seeing right now. I think that a major area of sort of our next stop, if you will, for the dollar could be a move up to 93, but 93.3, but you may see a bit more of a pullback prior to that occurring. So you may see stuff like a pullback to 92.8 before a rally higher. I would say that if you're a dollar bull, keep an eye on this level. If we do come back to retest it, maybe there's a second chance for those of you guys who were looking to get long. Of course, that's not financial advice. I'm just, sharing my thoughts here as always on the stream. When markets get like this, when they get a little crazy, I always want to make sure to be extra cautious. If you're a new trader and this stresses you out and it's a lot for you and you're like, oh my gosh, the markets are just crazy right now, there is no shame in stepping to the side and taking a pause and maybe even paper trading for a little while. A lot of times people, they lose a lot of money when the markets get crazy because they just, they refuse to be wrong. They don't want to give up on their ideas. And so, somebody who was short the dollar back here and they refuse to give up on it and then the dollar keeps going. That's sort of stuff where you got to be careful, right? So I would just say if you are in that situation, no harm, no foul, and just accepting that you're in your educational process. You can take a loss, you can pause, you can take a step to the side, and then come back to it when things are a little bit more normal and when you have a more level head. But again, this is why trading psychology is so big, is when you get markets that are kind of crazy like this, you get a lot of people who get themselves into a lot of trouble. So with that said, like I said, I think that the dollar may have a little bit of pullback here in it, but overall, I think it is still bullish, as especially we see a little bit more risk off sentiment come in here right now. So let's go take a look at some of the individual currencies out there, or currency pairs against the dollar. So I do want to start with the Euro USD. The Euro USD did sell off pretty hard here at the start of the day. We are seeing a little bit of a give back, like I said, with that dollar strength sort of pulling back a little bit this morning. So I am short on the Euro USD. I shared this inside of our private Discord. I'll pull this up here so you can see it. So I did take a short on the Euro, off of this little fake out that we saw on the 4-hour candle. Loved that little entry. So I jumped in there on the short side, and so far so good with this one. I have now moved my stops there and locked in a tiny bit of profit just in case things do truly reverse. So with that said, we'll take a look at the 4-hour view here. So with the Euro USD, I think that prices have a pretty good chance of coming down a little bit lower to retest this 1.175 level and may even head down to 1.17. Now, this is off the basis of dollar strength. Should that continue, we could see the euro dollar making that push down lower. But I will say this, the European stock market took a big dip as well today, which is, a little bit of fear coming in for the euro and that dollar really rallying off the back of that. So we do have some things to look out. If you are a bull on the euro dollar, I would say, things look structurally very bearish until maybe you start to see a breakout here. If you get something like that, then maybe there's some opportunities on the bullish side. But again, based off that higher time frame analysis that I did earlier, I do like the idea of looking to hold my short position and trying for a level like 1.175 or even lower down to 1.17 here on the euro dollar. So I have been bearish, still going with it. So Bogdan asks for the Discord link. If you'd like the Discord link, if you'd like to join the Discord, it's the first link in the description. You sign up on our website. So there's a promo code there for you to get a discount if you'd like to join us. But that is a service that our staff puts together for our members. So check it out in the description if you want to join. It's that first link down below. So yeah, we'll see with the euro dollar. We'll see if it can keep going lower. Like I said, I think that you've got some nice structural bearishness here for now. I would say also that if you look at like the 1-hour chart, that you've kind of got this level here, right? So maybe it's headed back to retest that. Like I said, the dollar seems to be retesting across the board right now. So we may see a bit more of a push here to the upside, and then maybe we see sellers are able to hold that. Obviously, I would like that because I am short on the euro dollar right now. So we'll see how that one wants to play out, and we'll go from there. But I do, like I said, I see the euro dollar potentially getting weaker. Look at that candle, though. That is a pretty strong rejection candle so far. We're going to have to watch to see how that one closes for the rest of the day. So this is the daily view of the euro USD. And there again is that reason why I think that 1.175 could come into play again. It's because of that major low that we formed back in April. So we rallied, and then now, with this push, I think a natural place for price to retest is a little bit deeper into that zone. So yeah, on the lower time frames, I think that we have more bearish side there, just off of that concept there. So we'll keep going. We'll take a look now at pound dollar, which I think is a little bit rough today for the bulls. Yeah, there it is. Look at that. So pound dollar hitting our target that we talked about here on the stream multiple times. The pound dollar trading lower here today, and it's a tough day for the pound bulls, because you can see this level coming into play and massive sell pressure here starting last week and just following through here today. So you can see that this zone here of support is just the next. It's sort of the line of defense for the bulls. In fact, if you're a pound dollar bull, this spot, you really don't want to see this one close underneath it, because check this out. You've got this 200-day moving average. So you've got the 200, you've got support, right? And if that breaks, if it holds, then great. We could actually see a multi-week bottom. That's one side of the coin. On the flip side, however, if that breaks, you're talking about fresh lows that could come in for the pound dollar on this move. So right now, I would say that probably we get a bounce. Probably we see a little bit of structure hold here for the pound dollar, just because you have such strong bulls historically that stepped in around here. But again, very much dependent on dollar strength and whether or not risk off sentiment continues. This is an example of a risk on currency versus a sort of risk off / neutral currency, which is the dollar, right? During times of fear, we usually will see, at least in the last few years especially, we usually see the pound dollar get shorted in favor of something a little bit more stable like the US dollar. Right. So that's kind of what we're seeing right now. We're seeing extra follow through because of this massive sell off today in global equity markets and just sort of concerns around risk on, risk off sentiment. We are seemingly switching into potentially risk off for now. Can that change back to risk on? Sure, it can. But I would not personally try and predict that. I'd say that it is very possible that we see a little bit of time here where we see some dip on the stock market. We see some dip on things like the pound and the Aussie and the CAD. So all of those, by the way, are down today. We are seeing a lot of those risk on currencies taking a dive today. So the question here for the pound dollar bulls is, can they hold this level, this 200-day moving average, and that round number at 1.37? I would say that if you are a pound dollar bull, if you think that this thing is bottoming out and that it's not going to make any lower lows, this could be an interesting spot, because from a supportive level, you've got a lot of technical reasoning here for buyers to try and hold this level. You've got a range bound market, and this is the lower extreme. You've got the 200-day moving average, you've got support, and you've got a longer term trend that has sort of been up. So, watch the pound today. What do you guys think? Are you bullish or bearish on the pound dollar today? Again, lots of strength to the downside for now. So I wouldn't assume that it's going higher, but I would say that, from a technical area, I would say it makes sense to get some form of a bounce here. Now that we have hit that target that we put in the stream, weeks ago, really, we talked about the pound dollar probably headed down to this point back around this area when we were really selling off. We retraced, and we started talking about the live streams how 1.37 seems almost inevitable. So so that's my thoughts on the pound dollar. If this breaks out, like I said, that would be really, really bad for the bears, good for the bears, bad for the bulls, right? Because you could see movements like this. If this sort of range bound market collapses, definitely looking at potentially lower prices on the pound. So I would watch that level pretty closely if you are a bull or if you're a bear. So please do gold. We will get there. Don't worry. We always do gold. I just go through a bunch of markets. There's people who like different markets, so I try and go around the merry-go-round before I get to gold as well. We'll take a look now at USD JPY here. So we're taking a look at the dollar yen, and this one looking pretty rough. I thought it was going to go higher. We did not see that follow through that I was looking for, and so now that trade is sort of nullified. You can see price breaking down to the lows, and just massive strength for the yen coming in with that risk off sentiment. So that's my thoughts right now with the the dollar yen, it does look like it's sort of broken the pattern here of higher lows. So for now, I would say that my bullishness is sort of subsided. And that's a situation where I have been wrong before and I was wrong again. So this one was a little bit tough. I wish it would have continued higher. I was bullish on it, took a stop on that at one point. And so now just waiting to see what this candle brings. If this candle closes like that, I would say price could head lower, could make a move underneath structure and maybe even walk its way down to levels like our May and April levels. So I would say that the dollar is strong. So why is the dollar yen so weak? Well, the dollar is weak against the yen due to the fact that the yen itself is incredibly strong today. Check this out. We'll go over to the currency heat map and take a look. Head over to a1trading.com. Anytime you want to check this out, you can just go to the currency heat map and you can see that you've got yen strength across the board. It's a very green day for the yen as risk off sentiment sort of steps in. People tend to buy the yen and the Swiss franc when markets are scary. So we do see the yen coming in very, very strong today, especially against things like the pound, the Aussie, and the CAD getting absolutely nailed today against the yen. The CAD looks really, really rough. Let's go take a look at some of the CAD pairs and see if there's anything going on there. So USD CAD. Yeah, look at that. USD CAD looks absolutely bullish to me. I was bearish on this pair for a while, so this is kind of crazy. So this 200-day moving average that we talked about last week got absolutely nailed, but not only that, now we seem to be closing way above it. So this sentiment shift looks like it may be here to stay for the time being. You may get some pullbacks in the midterm, but you've got levels like this, which is now a major level of support for the buyers. That 200-day moving average, should it come down, in the next week or two, if you do see something like that, I would say that buyers could very well look to step in and buy that. But again, massive dollar buying today. The dollar is killing it. And part of the weakness there for the CAD is just because, the CAD is sort of that, is of the two, right? The dollar and the CAD, the dollar is a little bit more considered reliable in terms of a risk off or safer investment. That doesn't mean that it's a better investment. It just means that in times of, scaredness or fear, right, you get a little bit more buying of the dollar and selling of the CAD because of their, exposure to things like oil, right? So if we look at US oil today, we'll take a look at US oil. US oil taking a big old dip, taking a haircut here today, selling off from the highs, and now looking like oil market may even take a dip. Now, why would the oil market sell off? Well, one of the big reasons is because when you have the oil market, reliant sort of on global trade and activity, if we get into pandemic 2.0, fingers crossed, I know we all are thinking the same thing, please no. But if we get, lockdowns or things that continue to surface again, I'll be in trouble because like I mentioned in my video earlier, I like threw away like all my masks. So I'm gonna have to go get some masks. God, I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way as I do. But so if the COVID fears sort of pick up again, if that Delta variant becomes a bigger problem, et cetera, the oil market would suffer. So would the stock market. So would a lot of markets, right? Because, pandemic recovery mode may be put on hold, which could cause a lot of markets around the world to take a pause, including the oil market big time. So Melbourne is in lockdown now. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of fear going on. So yeah, new deal plus 400K more supply. Yep. So we're seeing an increase in supply. We're seeing a slowdown in terms of risk on, etc. So yeah, good to see everybody. Hey Ryan, good to see you in the chat. Thanks for being here. Glad I was bullish on dollar CAD. Yeah, it really OPEC increases supply. Yeah, that's a big deal as well. So yeah, it's a scary thing, man. It's a little bit of a shift from what we have seen in the last several weeks, but it's one of those things as a trader, you've got to sort of be ready to adapt to this. When you look at things like dollar Swiss, I mentioned that, the dollar is really strong today, but not necessarily against some of the risk off currencies. And that's sort of your clue that risk off is so strong right now, at least today. Maybe that changes the rest of the week. I'm not exactly sure. We'll have to see. We'll have to wait for the Fed to speak again. I don't believe that they have any scheduled meetings. We do have the ECB speaking this week, which could be market moving for the euro pairs. But again, you're seeing the dollar strengthen today, but you're also seeing the other risk-off currencies like the Swiss franc and the yen really strengthen as well. So kind of an interesting thing there. I will say that the Euro USD is interesting to me, especially because back in the pandemic initially, kind of a weird thing happened, right? We saw the euro get really dramatically stronger. Here's a flashback to last year about this time where we saw the euro just absolutely dramatically rising, right? Right now we see the euro pretty bearish overall as the dollar sort of gains that strength. So we'll have to watch that one closely as well. But I'm hesitant to go full-blown risk off right now. I'm sort of on the sidelines. I do have my 1 euro USD short trade that looks like it may trail out to break even at some point here. But I do have a little bit of ways to go. If the euro continues to strengthen, I'll probably take a small profit on this trade. But again, I'm going to sort of be on the sidelines as much as I can until trade setups really become a bit more clear to me. I think if you're looking at the euro, check this out. So this level here, watch this one as a potential level of resistance. If that breaks out, we may see prices move higher. But again, the dollar, kind of interesting here. It is pulling back. So if you're a dollar bull, maybe we see prices hold this level from a technical bounce level. We did see that high of the week just put in so far. So we'll see if that, was in fact the high of the week. If we see a massive sell-off for the rest of the week, that should be an interesting concept to watch as well. So there we are with the DXY coming down here, pulling back after that major launch this morning. So we'll see if that one wants to continue or not. Back to the stock market, just because, again, we have the stock market opening soon. You can see we're selling into the pre-market here. So really interesting there. Pre-market really bearish, selling off pretty strongly. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to look at my stock market account today because it's probably pretty ugly. I've got things in there like Tesla. I've got things in there like Disney, and lockdown is really scary for stocks. Now, fortunately, I'm quite up overall on those stocks because I bought them like a year ago. But still, it is amazing how fast when a risk-off sentiment, when a pandemic 2.0 potentially hits you, right? If that fear sort of continues, how fast risk-on environments can turn really ugly, right? Stocks, higher risk currencies like the Australian dollar and the Canadian dollar. It's amazing how fast they can reverse. So keep an eye on that. What about VIX? Yeah, somebody mentioned VIX. Let's take a look at the VIX. Yeah, look at the VIX today. So the VIX is jumping here today, breaking out of the highs from June 21st. The VIX, if you don't know what the VIX is, it is a measurement of volatility. It is an instrument basically to track the low key version of what I like to call it is it's like the fear gauge. When this thing goes up, fear is higher. Check out last year, there was absolute, pandemonium. You saw a massive increase in fear, right, across the VIX. So, now we saw a little bit of a pop there, and we've been mostly retracing on our fear gauge here. However, you can see a little bit of a spike here today, and I would not, be surprised if this thing does increase yet again. The thing about the VIX is that all of a sudden it can be going from a beautiful little decrease in fear to massive fear. So the thing about fear is that it is a more powerful emotion. And this is not my research or anything, but I know that, I've definitely read research. I can't give you articles, so maybe you can just call me fake. But I think that fear is a stronger emotion than like greed. And so when you see markets drop, a lot of the times that they are dropping is because they drop so quickly because fear is stronger than greed. Right? If you ever look at the stock market, for example, and I know, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around charts. So my producer behind the scenes, she's having to follow me along with the little thing over here in the corner. But thank you for that, Lily. So the thing here with the S&P 500 is, check this out. Typically when it rises slowly. And when it drops quickly. So you can see here it's trailing higher, right? And all of a sudden, when fear comes in, it drops dramatically. Rises, drops dramatically. Rises, fairly slowly. I mean, recently it's been rising really quickly, but usually it rises slowly and it drops quickly. And this is sort of the nature of fear, right? So when you get this massive increase in fear, we see the markets drop pretty strongly. So is this a dip, or is this just a massive start to another sell-off? Well, I'm not going to jump to conclusions. Like I said, I'm mostly on the sidelines. I do like the idea of picking up the S&P with a stop loss somewhere around here. I may pick up a trade there at the 38.2, somewhere around there. Should we see some signs of lower time frame price action, I could see myself picking up some trades. Again, if that drops dramatically from there, I will look to stop out and probably, stay on the sidelines again. But I do think that you may see this dip get bought at some point here. So we'll have to watch. We'll have to see what's going on. Let's just take a quick look at the news today in terms of, so we do have monetary policy coming in today for Australia that has potential to move the Aussie currency. So let's look at this week. Yeah, so outside of that, we really don't have too much. We do have European monetary policy, and I believe Bart put out something this morning. Let me see. Hold on. Am I looking at the right place? Give me 1 second. There it is. Okay, so we do have, here's what Bart wrote for the website. So he put out that PMI and monetary policy is pretty much the big news this week. We've got Aussie monetary policy, European monetary policy on Thursday, and Eurozone PMI. So lots of news for the Euro this week, which definitely has potential to move it. And again, quite the volatility coming in here today, just off of that sort of fresh fears around COVID. So we will see how that one wants to play out. So like I said, mostly for me, I'm on the sidelines with my positioning. I would like to look for opportunities to buy things like the SPY, but it's got to dip. It's got to show me some signs of strength before I'm willing to just jump in there. Pound Canadian, I bet you that it is looking interesting today. These are both risk-on currencies, though, so I personally wouldn't trade something like Pound CAD because you're talking about two currencies that are both considered risk currencies, right, or risk-on currency. You've got the GBP and the CAD, right? Both of these tend to get sold off in times of like right now. So that makes it so kind of a weird chart, right? You have this chart has to go somewhere. So you've got the pound weakening and the CAD weakening overall, yet them against each other, the pound seems to be faring a little bit better. If I'm looking at this thing, I really don't love trading this from a fundamental perspective. It doesn't really, it's not as clear as some of the other ones for me. It is from a technical analysis breaking out here. So, we're breaking to the upside, maybe due to retest some of the highs of, the day or not the day of the year there back in February 2021. It seems like the pound did better, during that time than the CAD. So we'll see. We have Aussie tonight. Yeah, we'll take a look. Let's just look at Aussie dollar today. So Aussie dollar really, really selling off, and another major level coming into play here. So for the Aussie bulls out there, it's a little bit of a rough day. A little bit of scariness here. We do see lower highs coming in on the Aussie, right? You see price coming in really, really strong. Seller stepping up at every chance to sell into this move. And now we've kind of got this major pullback level. Now, this is higher time frame stuff. You're talking about the daily chart. If you look at the 4-hour chart, this thing is super bearish. If you look at the, even the daily chart zoomed in a little bit, it looks pretty bearish. So for me right now, we are underneath the 200-day moving average. I probably wouldn't be buying this pullback personally. I'd wait until I see, signs of strength come back into this market. But for the most part, the Aussie is looking fairly weak here, testing this 73, 74 support zone. So again, if this breaks out, it may be fresh lows for the Aussie. And with monetary policy coming in today, you have the potential for volatility to reset and keep going lower or reverse. It's just going to depend on what they have to say. But it does seem like right now the Aussie, even if they came out with hawkish statements, for the most part, I would say that the Aussie is still going to be weak so long as risk off remains in play today. Even if they come out and say, hey, we're looking to taper, etc. Yes, that would be a good thing for the Aussie. But if the whole world is in a fear mode, the Aussie tends to get sold. So yeah. Not sure what happened to the CAD earlier. Aussie hammered it this morning. The CAD is getting sold off because it is a riskier oil-driven economy. So a little bit of craziness there for the CAD. The CAD absolutely getting pretty nailed today against a lot of the other pairs. This one is probably the biggest moving. The CAD yen getting absolutely sold into hard. It is coming into a major level of support. If this level breaks, you're talking about major downside in my view. However, you do sort of have this 200. So I would say this zone, you've got the 200-day moving average, you've got major support. If price is able to break underneath that, for the CAD yen bears, could be beautiful. For the CAD yen bulls, could be a nightmare. So sort of a little bit of a tough day in the markets. If you're long on any of these things, they are getting sold into. The yen strength is really strong today. That 38.2 level looks like it's already being sort of compromised on the daily chart. So yeah, CAD yen really getting the pullback that we've been sort of waiting for a long time. I would, like I said, if I'm going to be long on anything that is risk on right now, I need to see signs of strength coming back into a market, whether that be a higher low, a higher high, just something, just to know that I'm not, not to know, but to have a better idea, to know that, or to think that I'm not just buying into something that's about to just keep crashing, right? Because if you go back to the CAD yen in 2020, check this out. CAD yen, not only did it crashed and crashed and crashed and crashed, it even gapped lower and crashed further. So it was a really ugly pair back in that time. So if things continue to become a problem in terms of the Delta variant, et cetera, we could see more downside for the CAD, especially as it is quite impacted by the oil market dropping dramatically as well. The volatility on the yen and Swiss franc is crazy. Yes, it is. It really is. We're seeing some major strength come into the yen and the Swiss franc right now. So kind of crazy. So with that said, you guys, I am going to hop off the stream. If you did enjoy it, make sure to hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you want more coverage and content. I'm sure that there will be plenty this week to talk about as things just continue to be kind of crazy. So with that said, thank you very much. And we will see you back in the next stream. And
I know you were expecting Nick, but my name's Julie and I do the real work around here. I wanted to take a second to thank you guys for watching the show and tell you more about some free content that we offer. One of the things that we offer is a free email newsletter. So if you click the link down below, you can sign up for free market analysis, trading tips, and exclusive offers. Every once in a while, someone here at A1 Trading takes a crazy trade, and you'll be the first one to know about it. See you guys next time.